So I recently discovered that there was a one-page RPG jam going on. It started July 12th, I believe, and it ends August 16th. And as of the day I'm recording this, it is August 12th. So it is 4 days until the jam is over. However, I've felt nothing but inspired to try my best to submit something or to create something, even if I can't submit it, at least make something in the vein of it, because I've hit many roadblocks in terms of trying to create something and trying to put something out there, and I thought what better way to do it than in a time crunch and in such a restricted format. So I wanted to also, at the same time, hold myself accountable. And so that's what this is. That's what me trying to do this is making sort of a dev diary while I'm trying to do it. I've gotten quite a bit of work done already, so I sort of wanted to make let's say an update or a first log or just what I have so far, and hopefully I'm able to update it as I go along as it sort of narrows down. It's still very much in its infancy, this concept I have, but it's coming along nicely, and I'm interested to see where it goes and how it develops. As of now, the working title for the RPG is called NEWFLESH. It's inspired, or some of its touchstones are movies like Videodrome, Tetsuo the Iron Man, Demon Lover, and notably the video game Prototype. The working tagline I have now is, "You've discovered something that they didn't want you to have, and now it's yours." I think the whole idea that I had was mainly inspired by the sort of plot events and the identity of movies like Videodrome and Tetsuo, of like this like liberation in some gross, monstrous manner, and I wanted to try to employ that into a game, into a really short, simple game with a really short gameplay loop in which you could be done in, however long it takes you to tell the story, or you can stretch it as far as possible. I wanted to create a sort of framework that was easily adaptable and something that you could expand, or that it could have stuff on, or if, say, I wanted to expand it myself, I'd be able to. As of now, I have the game itself. I have the basics of it. It's playable. It's not entirely complete, but the rules are there. It's just missing some of the fluff detail that kind of will help keep the game going. But the gameplay loop, as it stands, is you start out with creating your character. You give them a name, their occupation, their appearance, their disposition, so like their personality, their general outlook on the world. And I've called them nobodies, this infant character of yours. And the first thing you do is you roll to see how it found them, it being that monstrous power that they have. It could be anything. It could be whatever the game master decides is the origin of their abilities, whether it's, biomechanical or alien or supernatural. It's sort of very open-ended in that way. And then from there, you roll which limb of your body that you want to add your new flesh to, the flesh in which grants you abilities. After you've rolled the flesh in which you gain, you then have to roll what kind of violence you wish to enact. What do you wish to do to sort of fight against the system that has either forced you to become this way, or you're using to dismantle something that you've always hated. This sort of narrative of liberation is the key to it. There's a number, specifically 5 forms of violence in which you can enact. You roll a d6. In this, a d6 is the only die you will roll. I want the game to be easy, and I want you to feel powerful. But there is a mechanic that I've added that's sort of reins that in a little bit, so that there is sort of a threat to your life. Because these characters, while they may be powerful, they're not invincible. They still definitely have a mortality to them. That mechanic being the ability to wager your flesh for advantage. So, say in a scenario you're trying to do something risky and you're afraid of, you really want to nail it home, you can wager your flesh. If you somehow fail that roll, get a 1 or a 2, that flesh that you wagered will be lost. And the only way to get flesh back, or that flesh, or a new one, or whatever, is by completing violence, completing acts of violence. If you lose all your flesh somehow by wagering endlessly, you're just on a tirade, you die. That's where your character dies. And that's the only way your character can die, because they are a monster. And that's kind of the thing, is you're playing this, overpowered monster that is, unstoppable in a way. That's the prototype element of my inspiration. When it comes specifically to your body and how much flesh you're able to handle, you get 2 per appendage. There's 5, so you can have total 10 flesh. You're maxed out with 10. And then that goes on to what I'm still working on, which is the actual abilities that you can have during the game. I'm trying to create more appendixes of abilities that you can call from. Certainly there is open-endedness. You can easily work with your GM or work with yourself and come up with new ideas. This is supposed to be what you make of it. It's a playbook, truly. I think some creators get really in their head about making a lore and a completely fleshed out world, and making sure that players and GMs alike are able to go into their head and see exactly what's inside their head. And that's something that I struggle with for a lot. So I'm trying to release some of that, and in a way making it easier for myself, because it's easier to not try to do everything. It's easier to give agency to the people that will play your game, because that way they can have their own sort of fun too, creating a world with you as a creator. And I think that's the way games should be played. Everyone adds to it, and everyone adds their own sort of, creativity to it. And it's not just me. And and I'm surely there are people who could play this and be inspired by the same things that I'm inspired by, and have great ideas that I didn't have, or what have you. I've created one graphic insofar, and that is the sort of character sheet. It's a skeleton with the text boxes where each of the parts of your flesh will go. And I put some text on the side, and I put a graphic, an overlay on it to give it some texture. I'm still trying to work out how I want it to be laid out, but it is one page. It can be double-sided. One side is the rules, and the other side is the tables. But this is pretty light, so I might be able to get away with having a lot of images and a lot of flavor and style to the actual graphic, the actual manual, to give it that sort of vibe that I want. This sort of industrial, punk anarchist kind of vibe. So yeah, I think that covers it for at least this diary. I've definitely got a lot more to work on and a lot more to develop in 4 days, but that's how it goes. Creating. You just gotta have to do it at some point. Alright. Bye.